Andrea Gordon is the filmmaker of the next film, but she's going to give a bit of an introduction and then before the film is shown. Okay, Andrea?
Thanks, Rob. The other thing that really makes me angry, apart from the housing stuff, and our politicians, of course, is I heard at the House of Commons, went to see a couple of guys speak about corporate tax avoidance. And this is Prem Sikka and John Christensen. And I thought, this is brilliant, this is great, because they were saying Britain is not broke. And I just thought, what? But what they were saying was a lot of truth, a lot of facts, a lot of stuff that I didn't know before. But those 100 people in that room who were lucky enough to be there that night got to hear about it. And I thought to myself, well, what about us lot? You know, what about out there? We've got social media now, we've got access to the internet. Let's put it on film, and let's put it in such a way that people have accessibility to it. So it's not just blah, 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 and dry jargon, and all this stuff that is way over everyone else's head because they've got too busy lives to listen and concentrate. But let's put it in such a way that is light-hearted, entertaining, but also gets over the facts. So I thought about putting in the format of Have I Got News for You? So what we're about to watch is Have I Got Tax for You? Now, just a small thing, you're being filmed at the back there, or it's being filmed tonight by TVapex, who are an internet TV company who really believe in our voices being put out there, all our concerns being put out there. They have a website if you want to go to them with any concerns, any films and things that you think might be a good subject. They are TVapex, and Jamel is the representative on behalf of Dr. Sahel Chaktai. Okay, it's a plug for TVapex. And I should just say, because I have been legally bound to say, that when we say in our production about corporate tax evasion, what we really mean is the euphemism for corporate tax avoidance. Because as we know, avoidance is legal. The ethics of that, I'll leave up to you to judge. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Have I Got Tax for You? I'm Andrea Gordon, and in the taxing world of corporate tax evasion today in the UK, we have a new way of greeting the Queen and telling her exactly what you think about paying for her with your taxes.
Jimmy Carr, who was said to be avoiding the taxman.
And fighting talk from our Prime Minister, who shows the celebrities who don't pay enough tax what he will do with them. With us tonight, we have Prem Sikka, who is the Professor of Accounting at Essex University. Welcome. You list as your hobbies 1960s and 1970s Bollywood dancing. What's the difference between that and now?
I think you got more value for your money in the 60s. There were more steps probably.
Oh, okay.
And I suppose in the 70s the films probably came through offshore tax havens. So probably there was a cut along the way.
Get it in there, right.
He's
Good,
on
good,
message,
good.
isn't he? He's on message.
He has
Scores a point for that one.
He started early. The gun's not gone yet.
And with him on his team is Ben Dyson from Positive Money, welcome, who claims, and I quote, "It's possible to end the financial crisis in just 12 months by making a few simple changes to the banking system." Do you stand by that?
Yes.
Oh, good. And on the other team, we have John Christensen, and he's from the Tax Justice Network. And this is a coalition of researchers and activists who argue about the harmful effects in our society of tax avoidance, tax competition, and tax havens. And with him on his side is the comedian and actor Angus Dunnican. Now, Angus, you are, and I quote here, well known for working with people who have gone on to be known. Known to the police, the magistrates, and Interpol.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Stick with me,
Well, good.
kids.
Something. It's exposure.
Yes. You'll be well known after this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on with the first round. We'll start with some of the biggest stories in the world of corporate tax avoidance. Prem and Ben, take a look at this.
That's the G20 meeting, claiming actually that they're going to clamp down on tax avoidance. But some of the people running the biggest tax havens were there, including the UK Prime Minister, and also the US, which has Delaware, Nevada, New Jersey. They were all there, and they were basically saying we're going to change the world. And well, we wait and see.
Yes, of course, this is the G20 communique, where the ministers were meeting in Moscow in February this year, and they have pledged to crack down on tax avoidance by multinational companies.
Can I add something here?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I think there was a man who gave a speech. It was Boy George, having lost us the AAA credit rating.
What,
he
Boy
said
George did?
George Osborne. That's Boy George. And because his knowledge of economics,
you can't use his name as they say it in the Week magazine and expect us to get that when you say Boy George.
because his knowledge of economics is about the same as probably even less than that of Boy George's. But he said,
how can you say that? He works for the Ministry of Sounds. That's a high-models organisation.
Yeah. Well, there we are.
Boy George, as you call him, Prem, of course, I mean, whilst he talks the talk about tackling tax avoidance, what he's doing in this country is laying off all of the experienced staff at HM Revenue and Customs. So we can't, even if we wanted to collect tax, we don't have enough people to collect the tax on our behalf any longer. And, you know, that speaks volumes about what's really going on out there.
And thank you very much, Prem Sticker, Ben Dyson, John Christensen, and Angus Dunnican. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Our next one will be Have I Got Jobs For You? So keep watching, keep informed, and keep laughing. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to try and project here, so I hope you can all hear. If you can't hear, just say can't hear. So yeah, you've met the panellists. I'm going to give them each a minute or two just to say what their interest is in being here tonight and what they do and why they're here. So first, let's go for the un-PC version, shall we? Let's go for Rob Williams, who is the chair of NSSN.
I'm Rob Williams, chair of the National Shop Stewards Network. We were set up with the RMT in 2006, and basically we've been spending the last couple of years trying to put pressure on the trade union leaders to name the date for a 24-hour general strike against the cuts, so that's what we're going to keep doing.
Okay, well, I'm Claire, I'm from Youth Fight for Jobs, and we're a campaign that was set up in 2009, which is taking up the issue of mass youth unemployment. And the other problem which goes alongside that, which is perhaps less well discussed, which is that of underemployment, which has kind of been in the press a lot recently. We organised in 2010 a Jarrow March for Jobs, which was with unemployed young people. They marched from Jarrow up in the northeast of England, 300 miles down to London, which was obviously a recreation of the march that happened back in the 1930s, at a time when, again, there was absolutely massive unemployment in that region. And just recently, we've started taking up the issue of underemployment, and we've launched an initiative called Are You Sick of Your Boss?, which is aimed at young people who are working in precarious, insecure employment and trying to demand a decent, fair deal for young workers, and to cut across some of the lies, because what the government are trying to say is that if you're a young person, if you're not willing to work for nothing, if you're not willing to work for peanuts, then it's an indication that you're lazy and that you lack moral fibre. And we're saying that what's really unfair is that the rich, the people at the top, are in a time of hardship, time of austerity, demanding an even greater share of the pie, demanding to be able to pay young workers next to nothing and even nothing at all on workfare schemes. So that's the campaign we're involved in at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Isabel, our leading lady. Any developments? Would you like to just, obviously no introduction here as our leading lady. Would you like to give us an update since the film?
We've been served another eviction date for the 27th of May. that's basically where we are at the moment. We've got upcoming dates, which I forgot. I've gone brain freeze. I forgot the dates. We've got papers down on the table. If people go over to gym,
You're not going to get shot for forgetting the dates.
No,
don't worry.
I won't
We don't
get
live in that
shot.
kind of country yet.
No, I hope not. No, we're just here for everyone to see the film, to try and create more awareness and to get more people to fight back together, get communities together, and get people to link up. So that's it. Thank you.
Unity, which is what we need in this country, yes. I think you might need to keep that. And last but not least is Sandra, who is the director and filmographer, is that the right term? Videographer of the film that you just saw.
I was one of the groups involved in that campaign at the inception in August last year, the Tusk Trade Union and Socialist Coalition. And as one member, I never really grasped the story of the Cunahan family, really, because it was very complex. They've been evicted a few times. There was really complex stories, and many people we met were challenging the fact why they been so honest, why they have 5 children, so many prejudice and having to fight and explain to people. And I thought I'm just gonna gather some facts and get people to understand what this family is about, and also give them an idea about the legal aspect when people get evicted, depending on what kind of accommodation they are.
We'll throw some questions out to you in just a moment, but I would just like to drop this mic on the floor. But I'd just like to say to Rob, so what kind of organisation, what you say you want to organise a national campaign, and you're lobbying the TUC at the moment for a national campaign that's going to be against austerity and the cuts. What kind of things do you want to see happening then? How would we become involved in that?
Well, I think first of all we're involved in the everyday events as well, and just for people here, tomorrow morning, for instance, there's 33 agency workers who work for London Underground, worked them for 4 or 5 years. They've just been piled on the rubbish heap really by London Underground, and it's a protest tomorrow morning. If anyone's around by Edgware Road, come along on that. And that's the point, I think the point that has been made here, it's not just about these grand issues, it's the symptoms are everyday people, everyone's affected. So what the National Shop Stewards Network does is support workers in struggle really in every dispute, big and small.
Okay. Also, it must be said, working from a media background as well, I think the unions have had a very bad press, as I will come to you in a moment, Claire, about the young people too, having a very bad press. So I think what we need is a very good PR in place that gives them a good press again. So because we have access to the internet now and social media and can make our films on our mobile phones, maybe that's something that we could take into our own hands as well. So young people, they're very much on the agenda. You are a girl after my own heart as well, because you've been lobbying against Starbucks. Yes?
That's right, yeah.
You'd like to tell us a bit about that?
Well, the campaign, like I said earlier, is taking up specifically the issue of the precariat, which is what they've kind of been referred to in the press recently. And what it is it's young people in particular, but workers of any age, who are being forced onto extremely insecure contracts, 0-hour contracts in a lot of cases. And what that means is it's kind of the ultimate deal for an employer. They can demand that you work whenever they deem it necessary, but they have no obligation to give you any hours at all. So they could say 1 week you're going to work 35 hours, the next week you've not got any work whatsoever, and they've got no obligation to pay you a wage. And we've been particularly taking up that issue and particularly trying to highlight some of the employers, which it so happens are also some of the employers who are dodging billions of pounds in tax, who are treating their workers like this and are using young people and workers in general, super exploiting them and boosting their profits in that way. And we're saying that really it's not unreasonable for people to expect a bit of security in their lives, to be able to pay the rent every month, to know that they're going to have enough money in their banks to pay the bills, and that it absolutely isn't a sign of moral failure for young people or young workers to be demanding that. We have a right to take that.
Well done. I mean, the youth is our future. The next one we're going to do is Have I Got Jobs For You, which absolutely includes the young people because they've been completely pillared in the press, undeservedly as well. So, Isabel, tell me, where are you going back home tonight to? What's it going to be like for you?
Well, I'll be going back to Ealing, getting a lot of trains again, and I'll be going home to my husband and my children, and
how many rooms
uncertainty.
are there?
It's 3 bedroom, 2 single bedrooms and 1 double. I share with Vinny because when we were moved so abruptly with his autism, his sensory-seeking traits re-emerged. Right. So he started to hold his breath again, bite his hand. So we share a bed.
Stress-induced.
It was all stress-induced because he had stopped biting his hand and holding his breath for a year, and his specialist who diagnosed him with autism verified that all those sensory-seeking traits had stopped because we were putting so much kind of effort into what he was doing, his routine. And as soon as that was, as soon as we were moved, the way we were moved, they all came back.
Don't quote me on this because I heard it on some radio station, but I heard that only 3% of the whole welfare benefits are job seekers, only 3%. So they're being completely villainized in the press, and these are people who are trying to work. Incredible to me. We'll throw it open to discussion in 1 second, but Sandra, as a filmmaker, what next?
There's a lot out there, lots of stories that need to be covered. Since I've done the film, I have lots of demands to film stuff, but really what I'm thinking of filming is about the Atos. I don't know if you know Atos. Atos is a company that assesses benefit claimants, and they give people a score, and many of them have been removed from benefits. Everything has been cut because with these universal benefits are coming in. When one thing cuts, everything stops. Housing benefits, absolutely everything. Everything is connected, and they want to make sure they don't give you more than £500 a week. And in London, with the cost of living, £500 a week for a family, as you've seen with the Cunahan, it goes very, very quick.
My name's Melanie. I wanted to ask, I think, was it Robin, the trade union guy? Great presentations from everyone, by the way. But your point about the general strike, the 24-hour general strike, I support that, but do you really think a 24-hour general strike is enough? Because the government can take 1 day's worth of strikes. I think PCS Union have said that they're launching a rolling programme of strikes, and I think that's much more likely to be effective because it's that building of pressure over time which has the potential to be effective. But 1 day is, the government can absorb that.
Could very well be that 1 day is not enough, but it's merely where do you start from, and of course the idea of a 1 day general strike is that it's a beginning, but it would have a huge effect. And you're right, what we can't do is just leave it like that. But if you look back to November the 30th, 2011, when the public sector unions went on strike to defend pensions, that day was an incredible day. It was only a year and a half ago, and yet it's almost forgotten in this country. But there were 1 to 2 million people on strike, but that wasn't half the story. There were demonstrations in every town and city in this country, 60,000 in London, 30,000 in Manchester. There were 4,000 in Taunton. Now, I don't know if we've been there, but it's not the epicentre of working class struggle, nothing against it. But that was in the case up and down the country. It's almost like it didn't happen. Now, we in the National Shop Stewards Network believed if that action would have been repeated into December, even into the new year, an appeal made to the workers in the private sector, that could have been the pressure that would have pushed this government, really put this government on the spot at that time.
I'm Paul Summers. I'm a member of the Cunahan Sanchez campaign and Brent Tusk and a number of other things in the alphabet soup of the left. I'm also an ex-social worker. I worked in social work for 40 years. I just want to make a couple of observations. I want to make a reference to the exhibition upstairs. Somebody speaking earlier said that for a lot of us it would have resonances. And I passed the photographs of young people taking action in Liverpool in about 1984. Well, I have always mostly lived in London. I worked on a government unemployment scheme as a social worker in Camden in those days. I was employed to assist people who were not just unemployed but had psychiatric histories, criminal records, educational difficulties, etc. The government programme was called the Youth Opportunities Programme, a pitiful, sickening joke. They were paid £23 a week. However, the young people in Camden and Islington and a number of other places in London organised their alternative. They called themselves the Youth Oppression Board, which was wonderful, and they cooperated with the outfit that I was involved in, the Voluntary Sector Joint Shop Stewards Committee across London, and we organised several strikes and we occupied various employers' offices. Unfortunately, it never resulted in wage increases, but it did, I think, organise a number of young people.
Thank you. I hope I'm not abusing the hospitality. I'm also from the Cunahan Sanchez campaign. Very interesting night tonight, and it was great to get the invitation. I would say with regard to the Cunahan campaign, we have had problems getting support from the unions. Anthony Cunahan is a bus driver. He's in Unite, and Sandra and Steve from Brent Tusk have done a brilliant job getting Unite to give some support, some financial support. But they come up against an argument saying that some of the people in Unite were saying this is a political campaign, we can't support this, and they really had to battle to get that support. So the proposal and the suggestion I would have is I'd like to see the unions get more involved in supporting their members who are affected by the bedroom tax and by the benefit cuts that are affecting families like the Cunahans. So, I mean, I'll throw it out to everyone, but I don't know if Rob, for instance, if you think there's scope for the unions to find out more about how many of their members are affected by the bedroom tax and the benefit cuts, and for them to actually take action. Because as I say, what we've found in the Cunahan campaign is that we've had to battle very hard just really to get a kind of a token donation rather than proper support for the union members who are being affected by what you've described as this assault on living standards for working class people.
Well, yeah, just quickly on that. I mean, I'm a member of Unite as well, and then, I mean, there's absolutely no excuse for it, really. I mean, exactly. I mean, the unions have got to be involved, and to be fair, I think the majority of anti-cuts campaigns over the last couple of years, I think unions have been involved and trades councils and all the rest of it. But, you know, it's that alliance with workers in work and in their communities has got to be built, and I think we've seen some positive signs. I also think, though, that there's a question here about political representation, because I think the point you made before the video is that this is a Labour council in Brent, you know, and we've got Labour-affiliated unions. Unite is a Labour-affiliated unions, and others like that. But the point is, when the Condems came into power, those councillors had a choice to make.
And finally, Claire, how would you see us tackling austerity? What would you see with the next measure?
Well, I mean, I agree with what other panellists have said, particularly what Rob was saying about the general strike, but also what we've discussed about community campaigns. From my point of view, what we're trying to do with Youth Fight for Jobs is to give young people who are often, you know, some of the most ground down people in society, the idea that you're not alone, that you can stand up and fight, and we can draw inspiration from some of the mass movements that are taking place internationally, which young people have often been to the fore of, including things like the Occupy movement, the Indignados and things like that. So we've been going around all down Oxford Street over the last few days giving leaflets to people at work there which say, "Are you sick of your boss?" And I can tell you that lots of people are. So that's what we're doing, and we're going to be building for protests throughout the summer, including hitting some of the companies which have been shown in films today, but are particularly bad offenders, and hoping that, you know, towards the autumn there's going to be mass protests, and we'll be working with trade unions and community campaigns as well.
Well, so it seems that it's down to us, as ever, to unite and get our acts together, because I don't think the politicians are ever going to. There's too much self-interest there. But if you are interested or affected or want to get involved in any of the things that have been going on tonight, we've got websites and things. There's an email on the back there, and I'm sure these guys too will be around for you to talk to. But I think we're going to go for a break now, where we can all top up on some alcohol. Thanks very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. The 2 films I've seen so far have been very good in terms of attacking corporate tax evasion. You know, companies need to pay their fair share of tax. And the film about the Coonahan family was quite a powerful film.
Hello, I'm here with Lee Andrews, who is just watching tonight, and she's going to have a few views on that. Lee, what did you think about tonight's?
It's been really enjoyable. It's been a real mix of different sorts of activities to highlight some of the problems that are going on in the country at the moment. I've really enjoyed it.
And how do the austerity measures affect you?
I work in the voluntary sector. However, we haven't experienced cuts in the same way in the service I work in that many other people have, so that's been quite fortunate. I'm not in a low-paid job, so it hasn't affected me in that way, but that doesn't mean to say that I don't have a view and I don't understand what's going on for other people who might be more vulnerable than me.
Hello, I'm here with
Brian Waterman.
And he hasn't seen Have I Got Tax for You tonight, but he should have done, because he's an accountant and a good mate of Ben Dyson's. But he has got a few valid comments to make, in that he thinks that we should have a more positive outlook on the whole procedure. Go and tell us about it.
I think we each play our part, and we each do the best we can, whether we're in positions of power or whether we're on the fringes of society and are struggling to make ends meet. And I think life is about being conscious to where we're at and making the best of where we're at.
Which is a great way to sum it up. Thank you very much.